Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins All World, another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we're looking at a coin that may seem simple at first, but with a little history and some keen attention to detail, you'll see just how fascinating and valuable it can be. We're talking about the 1981 Roosevelt Dime, an unassuming coin that's captured the attention of collectors all over the world. At first glance, you might think this is just another common dime. After all, it's been in circulation for decades, and it's something you probably see every day. But this particular dime, if you know what to look for, can actually be worth an astonishing amount of money. That's right. While most 1981 dimes are worth just 10 cents, certain rare examples can command prices that will blow your mind. Let's first talk a bit about the history of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, just after the passing of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Designed by artist John R. Sinek, it features the profile of President Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. These elements represent peace, unity, and strength, the very ideals that Roosevelt embodied throughout his presidency. It's a coin with significant historical meaning, and one that has been in regular circulation for decades. But what makes the 1981 Roosevelt dime stand out from the others? While the design itself remained unchanged, the real story lies in a specific error that occurred during the minting process in that year. Like with many other coins, it's not always the minting year itself that makes a coin valuable, rather, it's the rarity of certain errors or unusual features that turn an otherwise common coin into something highly collectible. In the case of the 1981 Roosevelt dime, the most valuable ones feature a striking error that makes them stand out from the regular dimes you might find in your pocket change. This error is known as the double die obverse, and it's one of the most sought-after varieties by coin collectors. If you look carefully at the lettering and date on a 1981 dime, you might notice a slight doubling effect on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." This happens when the die is misaligned during the minting process, causing the image to be struck twice, with a slight offset. The result is a subtle but highly noticeable doubling effect that catches the eye of collectors, but that's not all. Another key factor that can dramatically increase the value of a 1981 Roosevelt dime is its condition. While many dimes were heavily circulated and show signs of wear and tear, a pristine, uncirculated example of this coin is extremely valuable. Coins that are free from scratches, dents, and other imperfections are highly prized in the numismatic community, and they fetch a significant premium in the market. In addition to the double die error and condition, there are also off-center strikes that can make these dimes incredibly valuable. If you come across a 1981 Roosevelt dime where part of the design is missing or the coin appears to be off-center, you've got yourself a rare find. These off-center strikes occur when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process, leaving part of the design out of view or distorted. Off-center coins are highly collectible because they are unique and often very difficult to find, and here's the kicker: the value of a 1981 Roosevelt dime with one of these errors or in mint condition can reach up to $78,800. Yes, you heard that right. A single dime worth only 10 cents at face value could end up being worth nearly $78,800 to the right collector. So, how do you know if you have one of these rare 1981 dimes in your collection? It all starts with a careful inspection. Check for any signs of the double die error, look closely at the date and lettering. If you see that doubling effect, you've likely got a valuable coin. Then, assess the condition. If it's in mint or uncirculated condition, that's even better. Finally, don't forget to check for any off-center strikes or other unique features that might further increase the value of your dime. Now, you might be thinking, why are coins with these types of errors worth so much? The answer lies in rarity and demand. Errors like the double die are relatively uncommon, and when they do occur, they create a unique version of the coin that appeals to collectors. When combined with a coin in excellent condition, the rarity factor becomes even more significant. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for these rare varieties, and the demand for high-quality examples drives up the price, but remember, not all 1981 dimes are worth this much. Most of them are just your standard, everyday coins. It's only the ones with errors, minting anomalies, or pristine conditions that are considered valuable. So, don't rush off to your local coin shop just yet. But if you happen to find a 1981 Roosevelt dime with the right error or in fantastic condition, it could be your ticket to a small fortune. In conclusion, the 1981 Roosevelt dime may appear to be a simple, everyday coin, but it holds the potential to be so much more. If you've got one of these dimes with a double die error, an off-center strike, or it's in pristine condition, you could be holding a coin worth an incredible $78,800. It's amazing how something so small and seemingly insignificant can have such great value. So, if you've got a 1981 Roosevelt dime in your collection or come across one in your change, take a good look at it. It could be the coin that makes your collection a whole lot more valuable. Today, because we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1977 Roosevelt dime. Now, at first glance, this may seem like just another dime you've seen in your pocket change for years. But, as many seasoned collectors know, there's so much more than meets the eye when it comes to rare coins. The 1977 Roosevelt dime, in particular, has a story to tell, one of rarity, minting errors, and incredible value. You'll want to stick around for this one. For starters, let's take a quick look at the 1977 Roosevelt dime. Introduced in 1946 in honor of the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, this dime has become a staple in American currency. With its simple but dignified design by John R. Sinek, it has remained in circulation for decades, featuring President Roosevelt on the front, and on the back, a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbols of unity and strength. However, in 1977, something happened during the minting process that would make this otherwise ordinary coin much more exciting to collectors. You see, the value of a coin isn't just determined by the metal it's made from or the year it was minted. Often, the real value lies in the details. In the case of the 1977 Roosevelt dime, there were a few special features, or rather, errors, that could make a seemingly normal dime worth a whole lot more than its face value. What makes this coin so fascinating is the rarity of minting mistakes that occurred during the year. But what exactly are these errors, and how do they affect the coin's value? One of the key reasons why the 1977 Roosevelt dime is so valuable is the occurrence of die cracks and double strikes. Let's talk about die cracks first. A die crack happens when the die, the tool used to strike the coin, develops a crack during the minting process. These cracks can leave noticeable lines or marks on the coin, often appearing on the obverse or reverse. While most die cracks are small and unnoticeable, a large die crack can make a coin unique and more desirable to collectors, as it shows the coin's connection to the minting process, but it doesn't stop there. Another rare feature found on certain 1977 Roosevelt dimes is the double strike. This happens when a coin is struck by the die more than once, and the second strike is slightly misaligned. This causes a faint doubling effect on the image, giving the coin a unique appearance. Double-struck coins are highly sought after because they're not only rare, but also offer a visual feature that distinguishes them from regular coins. It's like finding a hidden treasure, something that makes your coin stand out from the rest. And here's where things get even more interesting. Coins with these errors are not only rare, but they can also be in remarkably high demand. Especially if the errors are visible and the coin is in excellent condition, collectors are often willing to pay a pretty penny, no pun intended, for these unique pieces. But what kind of value are we talking about here? Well, if you're lucky enough to have a 1977 Roosevelt dime with one of these errors, or perhaps one in pristine, uncirculated condition, you could be looking at a substantial payout. Now, brace yourself for the most exciting part of the story. This specific dime, in good condition or with the right errors, can be worth a jaw-dropping $40,000. Yes, you heard that right, $40,000 for a coin that many of us overlook in our everyday transactions. It's amazing how a simple minting mistake, combined with rarity, can make something as humble as a dime turn into a treasure. So, how can you tell if your 1977 Roosevelt dime is worth a fortune? Start by closely inspecting the coin for any die cracks or double strikes. These are the most common errors that add value to the coin, and they're not always easy to spot, so you'll want to get a good look. The best way to examine it is by using a magnifying glass or a loupe to get up close and personal with the details. Pay special attention to the edge of the coin and the lettering on the front and back. If you spot any unusual cracks or doubling effects, you may have just discovered a hidden gem. Of course, condition matters a lot too. If your coin has been heavily circulated and is covered in scratches, dirt, or discoloration, it will be worth far less than one that has been kept in mint or near mint condition. The cleaner, sharper, and more pristine the coin is, the higher the value. This is why coin collectors often keep their prized possessions in protective holders or cases to prevent any damage. If you do happen to find one of these error coins in your collection, or in your spare change, it's crucial to get it appraised by a professional. Even if it's a small mistake or just a unique variation, it could be worth a lot more than you think. In conclusion, the 1977 Roosevelt dime is one of those coins that might just look like any other dime at first glance, but with a little closer inspection, you'll see just how much value it can carry. If you come across a 1977 dime with die cracks, double strikes, or in exceptional condition, you could be holding a coin worth $40,000, yes, $40,000, so, next time you find a 1977 Roosevelt dime in your pocket, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to examine it carefully. Who knows? It could be your ticket to a small fortune. Today's video is going to get you excited. We're taking a closer look at a coin that's often overlooked, but could be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1990 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, this might seem like just another regular dime, but stick with me because this coin holds some secrets that could make it incredibly valuable. Now, let's set the stage. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and it's been a mainstay in U.S. currency ever since. Its simple design, featuring a portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, and on the reverse, a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, has remained largely unchanged for decades. However, even though most people think of it as just a 10-cent coin, certain years and specific variations can be far more valuable than others. The 1990 Roosevelt dime, while still commonly found in circulation today, has a special place in the world of coin collectors. And it's not just about how it looks or its age, it's about the rare minting errors and conditions that can turn this dime into something truly special. But before we jump into those details, let's talk about why this particular year of Roosevelt dime stands out. One of the most significant factors that contribute to the value of a coin is its rarity. While the 1990 Roosevelt dime was minted in large quantities, there are specific versions of this coin that are extremely rare, thanks to some mistakes made during the minting process. So, what kind of errors should you be looking for on your 1990 dimes? The first error to look for is off-center strikes. This happens when a coin is not properly aligned with the die during the minting process. As a result, part of the coin's design gets cut off or becomes distorted. Off-center strikes, especially if the misalignment is significant, can make a coin incredibly rare and desirable to collectors. If you have a 1990 dime with this kind of flaw, you could be sitting on a real treasure. Another key error that can make a 1990 Roosevelt dime valuable is the double strike. Double strikes occur when the coin is struck more than once by the die, and the second strike is misaligned. This leads to a slight duplication of the design, creating a doubled effect that is easy to spot. These coins, with their visible and often dramatic doubling, are considered a unique find, and collectors will pay top dollar for them, but it's not just errors that make this coin special. The condition of the coin is another critical factor in determining its value. The 1990 Roosevelt dime, like all coins, comes in different grades. Coins that are in mint condition, with no wear or damage, are more valuable than those that are heavily circulated. Collectors want coins that are sharp, clear, and free from any significant scratches or discoloration. If you happen to come across a 1990 Roosevelt dime in perfect or near-perfect condition, you may be in for a real treat. Now, let's talk numbers because here's where things get really interesting. If you have a 1990 Roosevelt dime with one of those rare errors, or if it's in exceptional condition, it could be worth $29,000. Yes, that's right, $29,000. It's hard to believe that a small, 10-cent coin could fetch such a large amount, but the rarity of the errors and the demand for these specific dimes make them extremely valuable. So, how can you tell if you have one of these valuable dimes in your collection? Start by closely inspecting the coin under magnification. Use a loupe or a magnifying glass to get a better look at the details, especially the edges and the design. Look for signs of misalignment or doubling. Even small, subtle errors can make a huge difference in the coin's value. If you're not sure what you've got, it's always a good idea to have your coin appraised by a professional. Coin grading experts can tell you exactly what your dime is worth based on its condition, rarity, and any potential minting errors. And if your 1990 Roosevelt dime checks out as one of those rare finds, it could be worth a whole lot more than you ever imagined. To wrap things up, the 1990 Roosevelt dime may seem like just another dime you'd find in your pocket change, but it's so much more than that. Thanks to rare minting errors like off-center strikes and double strikes, along with the potential for finding coins in excellent condition, this coin is highly sought after by collectors. If you happen to stumble upon a 1990 Roosevelt dime with these unique features, you could be looking at a valuable coin worth $29,000. So, don't overlook that dime in your pocket. You never know when you might discover a coin worth a small fortune. Today's video might just be your lucky break. We're diving into the world of the 1987 Roosevelt dime. Yes, that's right, the 10-cent coin you might have brushed off as just another dime. But hold on to your seats, because this coin could be far more valuable than you think. The Roosevelt dime, which first appeared in 1946, has been part of the American coinage system for decades. It's known for its elegant design featuring President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. A simple design, right? But don't let that fool you. There's a whole world of collectors who find these coins fascinating, especially when we talk about specific years like the 1987 edition. Now, let's get into why the 1987 Roosevelt dime stands out. On its surface, it might seem like just another dime, produced by the United States Mint in relatively high quantities. However, as with most coins, the value isn't always about how many were made or how old they are. It's about the rarity, the condition, and, perhaps most importantly, any minting errors that set a particular coin apart. So, what makes the 1987 Roosevelt dime unique? One word: errors. As with other coins from this era, the 1987 dimes were subject to certain manufacturing inconsistencies, and it's those imperfections that can make them so valuable. The first and most commonly sought-after errors in 1987 dimes are off-center strikes. This occurs when the coin is improperly aligned during the minting process, leading to an incomplete or misaligned image. If you happen to find a 1987 dime that's off-center, particularly if a substantial portion of the coin's design is missing, then you've found something that's highly collectible. Another error that can elevate the value of the 1987 Roosevelt dime is double strikes. This happens when a coin is struck by the die more than once, and the second strike overlaps the first one, often creating a doubled image. Double strikes are a favorite among collectors because of how unique they are. No two coins will look exactly alike, and finding a dime with noticeable doubling can make it stand out in a collection. So, if you have a 1987 Roosevelt dime with a double strike, you might be sitting on a goldmine, but let's not forget about the overall condition of the coin. As with most valuable coins, the state of preservation plays a huge role in determining its worth. A well-preserved coin that has minimal wear and tear is far more valuable than one that has been through heavy circulation. This is where it's important to note that coins from the 1980s, including the 1987 dime, are often found in varying conditions. If you happen to have one that is in mint state, or close to it, the value could skyrocket. Another key element to consider is the rarity of these dimes in such pristine condition. While 1987 dimes were minted in large numbers, the ones that have survived in top-tier condition are fewer and far between. Coins that have been stored carefully, away from wear, dirt, or corrosion, are what collectors really covet. If you're lucky enough to stumble upon a 1987 Roosevelt dime in this rare, uncirculated state, you could be in for a very pleasant surprise. Now, let's talk about the numbers, because here's where things get really exciting. When we say the 1987 Roosevelt dime can be worth a significant amount of money, we're not exaggerating. Thanks to those rare errors like off-center strikes and double strikes, along with coins in near-perfect condition, the value of a single 1987 dime can reach as much as $34,000. Yes, you heard that right, $34,000 for just one dime. So, how can you tell if your 1987 Roosevelt dime is worth that much? Well, the first step is to closely inspect the coin. Get yourself a magnifying glass or a loupe and examine the edges, the alignment, and the overall design. Look for any signs of misalignment, doubling, or any unique features that could set it apart from a regular dime. If you spot something that doesn't look right, or if the coin's condition is pristine, then you might just have a rare find on your hands. If you're not sure what you're looking at, consider taking it to a professional coin appraiser. An expert can accurately grade the coin, assess its errors, and help you understand its true value. The beauty of coin collecting is that you never really know what you might find, and a rare error coin or a dime in excellent condition could be worth a whole lot more than you think. In conclusion, the 1987 Roosevelt dime may seem like just another dime you'd find in your pocket change, but it has the potential to be worth far more than that. Whether you're looking for off-center strikes, double strikes, or simply a coin in exceptional condition, this dime is a hidden treasure in the world of coin collecting. With the right combination of rarity and condition, your 1987 Roosevelt dime could be worth an impressive $34,000. So, next time you're checking your change or going through a box of coins, remember to pay special attention to that 1987 Roosevelt dime. Who knows, you might just be holding on to a rare and valuable piece of U.S. history. Today, we're diving into a particular coin that you may have passed over in your collection without a second thought, the 1980 Roosevelt dime. But don't let its simplicity fool you. This coin holds a significant place in the world of numismatics, and there are certain features and errors that could make it worth far more than its face value. Stay with me because you'll want to hear about the rare gems hidden in the 1980 Roosevelt dime. First, let's take a moment to appreciate the design of the Roosevelt dime. Minted since 1946, the dime features a simple yet powerful portrayal of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His face, framed by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," makes up the coin's obverse. On the reverse, we see a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. A design that's both elegant and meaningful, right? But what sets the 1980 Roosevelt dime apart from its counterparts? The answer lies in the rarity, the errors, and the condition of the coin. While the 1980 dimes were struck in large numbers, there are key factors that can turn an ordinary dime into a highly valuable treasure. One of the most notable aspects to keep in mind when searching for rare 1980 Roosevelt dimes are minting errors. These errors can take many forms, and when found in an otherwise ordinary coin, they can increase its value exponentially. Let's talk about a few types of errors you should be on the lookout for. First up is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't aligned correctly with the die during the minting process. When this occurs, part of the design is missing or misaligned. With the 1980 Roosevelt dime, an off-center strike is particularly intriguing because it creates a unique look that collectors find fascinating. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin can become. Next, we have double strikes, a minting error that occurs when a coin is struck twice by the die, either in the same position or in slightly different positions. This leads to a blurry or doubled image, giving the coin a distinctive and unique appearance. Double strikes are highly coveted in the world of coin collecting, as they represent a mistake during the minting process that is rare and often difficult to find. Another error worth noting is the repunched mint mark. This happens when the mint mark, an indication of the coin's origin, is mistakenly stamped more than once. These errors are less common than some others, but when they occur, they can create a coin that's much more valuable than a standard 1980 dime. Of course, condition is key. If you come across a 1980 Roosevelt dime in uncirculated condition, it could be worth far more than a dime that's been heavily circulated. Over time, coins can develop wear, scratches, and discoloration from handling. If you happen to find a 1980 dime that has been carefully preserved, or even one that has never been in circulation, it can greatly increase the coin's value. For those of you who are especially keen on collecting coins, graded coins are also something to consider. A coin that's been graded by a professional service, especially one that comes back with a high grade, can fetch a higher price on the market. For example, a 1980 Roosevelt dime in gem uncirculated condition with a high grade, such as MS-65 or MS-66, is much more desirable to collectors than a coin with a lower grade. These graded coins are typically carefully preserved in protective cases, ensuring that they maintain their condition and their value over time. So, now that we've covered some of the key characteristics of the 1980 Roosevelt dime, let's talk about the price. While most 1980 dimes might seem like just another piece of pocket change, the rare era coins and those in excellent condition can be worth thousands of dollars. In fact, a 1980 Roosevelt dime with a rare minting error or in uncirculated condition could be worth an impressive $38,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $38,000 for a single dime. Isn't it incredible to think that a coin that many people would overlook could be worth so much? If you're wondering how to tell if your 1980 Roosevelt dime is one of the rare and valuable ones, start by closely examining the coin. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to check for minting errors like off-center strikes, double strikes, or repunched mint marks. Also, pay attention to the overall condition. If your coin looks pristine, it might be worth more than you think. If you find something that seems unusual or rare, don't hesitate to take it to a professional for appraisal. An expert in numismatics can help you determine whether your coin is truly a valuable collector's item, or if it's just a regular dime. But regardless of the outcome, you'll have a deeper appreciation for the art and history behind each coin. In conclusion, while the 1980 Roosevelt dime may look like a simple, everyday coin, it has the potential to be a hidden gem in your collection. Whether it's a rare minting error, a pristine specimen in uncirculated condition, or a coin that has been graded highly, this dime has earned a place in the spotlight among coin collectors. With the right error or condition, this humble dime could be worth an astounding $38,000. So, next time you find yourself going through your spare change, take a closer look at those 1980 dimes. You might just have a rare and valuable coin on your hands. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more coin hunting tips and discoveries. Keep searching, and happy collecting.